Good morning and welcome to Coffee Talk, where I'm going to pick a book out of the Bible and we're going to get to the root cause, we're going to get to the individual's feelings, and at the end of the day, we really need to get back into the Lord's Word. I know a lot of people want to do End Times eschatology, so in the description box, I'm putting a lot of people who I watch every day who do End Times eschatology, and it's all by the Word of the Lord, so definitely go check them out. So, let's go ahead and begin with our coffee talk, shall we? So, I've been reading in Genesis, and I found a story in here that's just got me all frazzled up because there is drama, love, suspense, and betrayal. So, if you can guess who it's by, it's from Jacob, Leah, and Rachael. Okay, so remember, those are three main individuals. I'm not going to say characters because these were real people. This is not just a character in a story. These are real people. So let's begin. So let's begin with Jacob. He was in Haran, and we all know the story before them with what happened with his brother Esau. So we're just going to start here, and we're going to end with what the Lord has told us. Okay. So he's in Haran. And he sees a shepherdess come up. And I mean, this little Bo Peep, she was gorgeous. And if the Bible says someone's beautiful and favored, oh, you know they're a knockout. So he goes up, right? And he realizes who this girl is. It's Rachael. It is my brother's, it is my mother's brother's daughter. So he runs up to her, starts crying and weeping and kissing her. Now let's pause. If a man comes up to me and starts crying and kissing me in 2021, I'm going to sock him right then. But luckily, back in the day, they don't got to worry about no COVID. Oh, that's good coffee. So then, luckily, Jacob tells her who he is. And Rachael runs to her father, Laban. Laban was like, heck yeah. And so goes to Jacob and says, Jacob, you're going to be in this land. Come work for me. But you can't work for me for nothing. So what would your wages be? And Jacob, being who he is, looks over at this shepherdess, Rachael, and little Bo Peep looking real nice. And he says, I'll work for you for 7 years. Just give me Rachael to be my wife. And Laban's like, heck yeah, I'll give you her, not him, her. It's better to give it to you than to give him some other random man. So 7 years go by, he's working hard, he's doing great, but to him, his love is burning for her. It only feels like a couple of days, right? And you know that's got to be some good love. So the end of the 7 years come, okay, and he goes up to Laban and says, hey, I want my wages. And like anyone else, we would want that too, which was Rachael. So he says, okay, at the end of the 7 years, you got it. So he said, let's do a big feast. Now, ladies, you know we in the kitchen cooking, but it's all right, I like to cook. Because this was only for men. So the end of the night comes, and they're going in their tents, and here comes Laban. He has a light bulb, and he says, well, I can't give my second daughter. This is the youngest, and the plot thickens. The oldest is Leah. Now, Leah, she has got some bad eyes. She is not favored. She's not pretty. And so she goes into that tent, and Jacob takes her to be his wife. Now, he wakes up in the morning and realizes, that's not Rachael. And I'm thinking to myself, how dark does it gotta be in that tent for you not to know that you're betting the wrong woman? So, rightly so, he goes up to Laban. He is frustrated. He is angry, and he says, hey, this is not Rachael. And he says, you're right, it's not. But it's customary in Haran that the oldest goes before the youngest. So if you want Rachael, work for me another 7 years. And just, let's pause here and think, okay? You wanted to marry this woman. You worked hard for her, and then you ended up getting the wrong woman. And now but your love is so strong for her that you're willing to work another 7 years for her. I mean, ladies, let me just say, that's the kind of man we need. So, next, he works the 7 years, and Laban does give him Rachel to wed, and which was wonderful. He really loved Rachel. His love for her was so amazing. But God saw that Leah was hated. And to God to see that Leah was hated and to really just show her that kindness and said, you know what? I'm going to open your womb. You're going to have children. So Leah bared 3 sons. Okay? At the beginning. Just wait. Bears 3 sons at the beginning. Says, I bared him 3 sons. He's going to love me. He's going to dwell with me. Nope. Negative. He still loves Rachel more than you, which is heartbreaking. Okay? Because all she wants is love and kindness. But let me tell you, now this part I just didn't understand. Okay? Rachel gets jealous of Leah for having children with Jacob. I mean, come on, Leah. I mean, come on, Rachel. You got the beauty, you got the favor, you got the looks, you got everything. You got the love of your husband, and all of a sudden, you're like, this ain't good. Well, you know, Rachel was barren. So she says, she gets really upset. And she goes to Jacob and says, Jacob, either you give me children or I'm just going to die. I'm just going to die. And now Jacob gets really, really mad. And you didn't hear it from me. But we're going to read about it, what he said. And let's go to Genesis chapter 30, verse 2. And it says, and Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel. And he said, am I in God's stead, who hath withheld from thee thy fruit of the womb? And now I suspect Rachel kind of backed up for a minute and realized she was being a little dramatic. I mean, come on, you ain't gonna die. And she was like, you know what? I'm gonna give you my handmaid. And her handmaid was Bilhah. And it says in chapter 30, verse 3, and she said, behold my maid Bilhah, go in unto her, and she shall bear upon my knees, that I also have children by her. Well, Bilhah ended up having 2 children from Jacob and gave them to Rachel. So Rachel was like, yes, I prevailed against my sister. I'm the winner. And I'm like, come on, you've already won everything. Just give her a little hug. Poor Leah. I'm really feeling for Leah right now. So Leah then was like, this ain't happening. You ain't gonna have kids. And then Leah ended up being barren after having 4 children, which was 4 sons. And she says, Jacob, here, take my handmaid. You just go ahead and take her. And so he did. And he bared 2 children from that handmaid, in which was, Zelpha, I think that's the handmaid's name. So now he's got 2 children from each handmaid. He's got 4 children from Leah. This man's got a lot of kids. So then she said, I am blessed, I am happy, I am going to be the mother that they call blessed. And that's from Leah. So now this next part, Rachel, why? Why is it that you can't let Leah have any attention or love? But we're going to figure this out together. So then Reuben, which is one of Leah's sons. I mean, it is the wheat harvest. He finds some mandrakes in the wheat field, right? And he was like, in my opinion, I am sitting here, I'm a mama, and my kid's coming up saying, I love you, mommy, here's some mandrakes, which is actually a flower, if you look it up on Google. And Rachel saw this, saw the affection that Reuben is giving to his mom, and she says, hey, let me have those flowers from Reuben. And I'm just putting my head, I'm just shaking it. I'm just shaking my head. I just don't know what to do at this point. So Rachel Leah says, "You stole my husband, and now you want my son's flowers?" Mandrakes. And we gotta pause here. First off, and I hate to say this, Leah, honey, she did not steal your husband. Unfortunately, your dad gave you to Jacob when Jacob did not want you at that time. And I didn't think he wanted you at all. And that's heartbreaking and it's sad, but it's the reality of it. So we're just going to have to deal with this at the moment, okay? And we love you, we do. But then Rachael says, "You know what? You give me those flowers and I'll let you have Jacob tonight." And she's like, "Okay, sure." So here is a sweaty man. I can just imagine him. He's been working in the field all day. He comes up, he's sweaty, he's nasty. Oh, he probably stank. And Leah's like, "I bought you tonight. You gonna do well with me." And God looked upon Leah and was blessed her. Blessed Leah and says, "You know what? You are gonna have another baby. You can go ahead and have another baby." So she ended up having 2 more sons. And so that's a total of 6 sons. And she's like, "He's got to dwell with me now. I've got 6 kids." Or sons. And then she ended up having another, which was a daughter that she named, and it's here, Dinah. Which, if you want to look, that is Genesis chapter 30, verse 21. So then she was barren. She didn't have any more children after Dinah. And she was happy. She was happy with her children and the way things were going. And now let's talk about Leah for a second. God looked upon her, saw in her heart of heart and her soul, saw how miserable she was. And then she was like, he gave her these children. And a mother's love towards their children is something unexplainable. It is beautiful. It is amazing. And God is so good. So after that, Rachael, God didn't forget about her either. I mean, she couldn't have children. And she did have children by the handmaid, but still, she wanted to feel the baby within her womb. And they're both godly women. They're both, even though they were attacking each other as sisters and the jealousy and the rage, they still loved God. And they prayed to him and loved him. And God saw that. And so God remembered Rachael. And you know what happened? He opened her womb. And she got pregnant with Joseph, which was her first son. And she told, after that, she said, "You know what? God's going to give me another son. I just know it." Well, as the story continues, which we'll talk about another time, it continues on where he talks to Laban and wanting to move. But today we just want to talk about the feelings that Rachael and Leah had, which was a lot. Didn't I tell you this was a drama? I mean, it could have been a soap opera. But then at the end of the days, Rachael got pregnant with her last and final son. And as she was giving birth, it was a hard birth. And as she gave birth, she lifted up her ghost, which is her spirit. And she died during childbirth of her last and final son that she knew that God was going to give her. And now we've got to talk about Jacob and his feelings through all this. I mean, he just lost the wife that he truly loved. And as he's holding that baby boy and looking into his eyes, and I could just imagine him weeping in sorrow. But then to give God the grace and the thanks for everything that he does. I mean, come on, man. This was a good story. Shows of God's love and But anywho's, that's the end of this coffee talk for today. And I had a great time. I hope you enjoyed it too. Tune in next time where we're going to talk about Jesus giving some people some good old whippings. Now they deserved it. We'll talk about that later. I hope you guys have a blessed day and may the Lord keep you and hold you and love you, and I'll be praying for you.